Friends, welcome to the channel. My name is Hako. In this video, we're going to be talking about Ju Fufu. So let me do this. Ju Fufu colors. This is kind of going to be a laid-back, easy-to-digest guide for Ju Fufu. Because let's not make things more complicated than they are, right? So, Ju Fufu is a fire stunner and she's quite a simple character. And she's a character that mostly plays herself. So, Ju Fufu, just like many other characters, she has like her own special resource. The first one is called Might. And we will see this as like a bar split into two under Ju Fufu's portrait. We fill up this bar by like doing certain stuff with Ju Fufu. One of them is having her dog attacking. So, Ju Fufu has a dog called Wei. This dog will always be on the field attacking the same enemy as we are, with a few seconds between every attack. Now, when Wei attacks an enemy, Ju Fufu will gain 20 might. When we have reached 100 might, the next time Wei attacks, Wei will cast Chain Attack Suppressing Tiger Cauldron. So, Ju Fufu has two different chain attacks. She has the normal chain attack that we can like activate via stun window or via an Astra buff or via an Astra ultimate. And she also has another chain attack with slightly different modifiers that we can activate that she activates herself whenever her might is enough. And for all intents and purposes, like this attack classes as a chain attack, it activates swing jazz, etc. And anything that buffs chain attacks will also buff this extra chain attack. So when Wei has 100 might and he attacks, chain attack suppressing tiger cauldron will be cast. He will pop up into the air, he will spew out burning popcorn at the enemy. And this will also come with some buffs. Also, here's where the second resource momentum comes into play. Certain things that Ju Fufu does will reward her with momentum. Ju Fufu gains 3 momentum every time she does an EX special. She gets 1 momentum every time she does an assist follow-up, although this has a cooldown of 10 seconds. Every time Ju Fufu casts an ultimate, she gains 6 momentum. Now, momentum is tracked as a little buff under Ju Fufu's portrait. And what it does is that after Wei, the dog, has cast Chain Attack Suppressing Tiger Cauldron, if momentum is active, or like if it is available, Ju Fufu will come in and like start riding Wei and kind of go like a Beyblade or a bumper car and start bumping into the enemy. Every time Ju Fufu does this, he will restore 25 points of might. And remember, anytime might reaches over 100, another chain attack will happen. And once again, if momentum is available after that, Ju Fufu will once again like start riding Wei and bumping into the enemies. Wei, the dog, left to his own devices, he will accumulate 1 chain attack every 20 seconds-ish, a little bit depending on the encounter. But our way to like speed this up is using EX special attacks and using ultimates to gain momentum, so that Ju Fufu will come in and like do the fairy spin attacks after the next chain attack. Now we can take control of Ju Fufu and like do a dash attacks, like we sprint and then we press attack, and we can like control her while she does the bumping, and that can be kind of fun, although there's no real reason why we would want to do that over just letting Ju Fufu do it, other than, you know, it is fun. And there's actually parts of Ju Fufu's kit that won't trigger unless like she is not the active character, so there is actually a lot of merit to not controlling her. Because core passive Ferocious Might makes it so whenever Ju Fufu launches her extra chain attack suppressing Tiger Cauldron, all squad members gain the Tiger's Roar effect, which increases crit damage by 20%. And when Ju Fufu's initial attack is greater than or equal to 2800, every additional 100 attack further increases crit damage by 5%, up to a maximum additional increase of 30%. Which means that Ju Fufu gives base kit 20% crit damage to your entire team. But if you reach 3400 attack, she will give out 50 crit damage. If we reach 3000 attack, she will give out 30 crit damage. And while the Tiger's Roar state is active, character's chain attack damage is increased by 20% and ultimate damage increased by 40%. The Tiger's Roar state lasts for 30 seconds and repeated triggers reset the duration, and while Ju Fufu is in the Tiger's Roar state, impact increased by 50. And basically you won't have this buff like open at the start of a combat, at least not at base kit, but around 20 seconds into any given encounter, she will cast her first chain attack, and after that you will have 100% uptime of this buff. Now here comes another very interesting thing with Ju Fufu. It is her additional ability Aura of Authority. When another character in the squad is an attack or rupture agent, right now as the time of recording, only Yichuan applies to this. The maximum decibels for all characters in the squad increases by 1,000, which means instead of having 3,000 decibels, we have 4,000. An ultimate still costs 3,000. It just now we can like be allowed to stockpile decibels a little bit. In normal circumstances, if an enemy is like 80% like way to be stunned, we don't really want to be using the ultimates. Like any decibels we generate during that time will be kind of wasted, but not with Ju Fufu. And additionally, when an attack or rupture character uses an ultimate, that character gains 300 decibels. So this means that you get like a 10% kickback or like a 10% refund of your decibels. And this might not sound like a lot, but honestly, this is like probably Ju Fufu's biggest strength. And it is super easy to like get accustomed to this luxury, like having run Ju Fufu a bunch. Like now anything without Ju Fufu, you know, it kind of feels a little bit boring not to get 4,000 decibels and like get a refund. Like there's a lot more ultimate happening across the board with Ju Fufu. And now Ju Fufu is like the Yichuan teammate. She was tailor-made with Yichuan in mind. Now she works with other characters, but this additional ability is like one of the reasons why she's so cracked with Yichuan. Because as you might know, Yichuan has two ultimates. One that costs decibels, one that costs technique points. But both of those gives 300 decibels. So, Ju Fufu is kind of a straightforward character. We can choose to control her like if we want. She has quite a fun attack string where like if you use like mash the attack button, she will continuously like claw at the enemy. Now the damage of this isn't, you know, too great. If you put in enough time and work and like support system around Ju Fufu, I'm sure you can make a main damage Ju Fufu, although primarily she is your little off-field stunner agent. And during combat, Ju Fufu is mostly left up to her own devices. You can start a combat by like doing a dash attack, so hold the dodge button, then attack button, get on Huey, and then like Beyblade into the combat, like just shoot Ju Fufu out in like the direction of the general enemy. And this doesn't really like give you any sort of combat benefit, it's just fun. And after that we send in our carry, whether it's Yichuan or like any other agent, and Huey, the dog, will help us attack the enemy. Look for openings where you can do a defensive assist, preferably like every 10 seconds just to give Ju Fufu some momentum, just to increase her potency a little bit. And before you do a chain attack or an ultimate, make sure that her core passive is active, aka within the last 30 seconds she has done a chain attack, which after she's done the first one should always be up, kinda no matter what you do. Her ultimate gives you 100 points of might, and her E special gives you 80 points of might. So like just make sure you don't combo those and like lose out on some might, because the max stacking of might is 200. And as for the skills to level, if we click upgrade suggestions, it gives us tips of core skill, ultimate, EX special, defensive assist, and only if needed, basic attack and dodge. Now I agree with this, although since the dog is at all times out attacking, even if the multipliers are a little bit poo-poo, I like to upgrade basic attack as well. But core skill and ultimate definitely has priority. Ju Fufu's bread and butter is the chain attack suppressing Tiger Cauldron. Now as for the disc set, King of the Summit is like Ju Fufu's disc set. Now this is good on a lot of stunners, but it's especially good on Ju Fufu. And especially paired together with the fact that she already gives a bunch of crit damage, this set being able to provide an additional 30% makes it so Ju Fufu can give out 80% crit damage to your entire team. And ladies and gentlemen, that is not bad. For the two-piece, I choose to go with Shockstar Disco. She can be a little bit flexible if you feel like you want more energy doing more E special attacks. Swing Jazz can also work. And if you've been cursed with misfortune and you're not able to like get the crit rate over 50, which we need for King of the Summit to work, then slapping on a two-piece Woodpecker until you have better King of the Summit discs is a valid option. As for the stats, preferably we get Ju Fufu up to 3,400 attack and above 50% crit rate. Attack for the core passive and crit rate for King of the Summit. Now what you can also run is a Swing Jazz. Like I said before, a 4-piece Swing Jazz. This one activates whenever we do a chain attack or ultimate, and Ju Fufu is gonna be able to almost have 100% uptime off the Swing Jazz buff. Now in certain teams, depending on like who the carry is, running Swing Jazz and having almost 100% uptime of 50% increased damage is gonna serve you better than having an extra 30% crit damage. And as for the main stats we're looking for, attack number 4, attack number 5, and unless we're running her signature engine, you're gonna want attack on number 6, which feels weird on stunner, but it's honestly better to like just maximize her buff rather than having her be a slightly more potent stunner. And if you're running a deadly assault encounter and this costs you a stun window, well, having an impact disc on backup, just like being able to switch in if this would give you another stun window and that would like make you beat the encounter, could be wise. But in general, my tip is to maximize her buff, then care about her impact. So let's talk some engines. Roaring Furnace is Ju Fufu's signature engine. This is a very good one, and this one is tailor-made for her. The days dealt by the equipper's EX special attack, chain attack, and ultimate increases by 28%. Not bad. Attack as a main stat, which as soon as I saw the core passive, I could, call that the engine would be this. And sadly, we don't have any other stun engine that has attack as a main stat. Surprise, surprise. And also, when using a chain attack or ultimate to deal fire damage, the damage dealt by all squad members increases by 10%, stacking up to 2 times and lasting 30 seconds. And the duration of each stack is calculated separately. Now, this is a good engine for Ju Fufu. It is, in fact, her best one. And with this, we kind of need to remember that we want this fully stacked at all times. So just because the stacks are calculated separately and just base kit Huey accumulates around 1 chain attack every 20 seconds, this one, does incentivize doing some more defensive assist, doing some more E specials, just so the chain attacks happen a little bit more regularly, so we have 100% uptime of the 20% increased damage. And one of the biggest things with her own signature engine is that this allows us to run impact on disc 6, otherwise we would be kind of forced to run attack. Now, Ju Fufu doesn't deal too much days in comparison to other stunners like Lighter and Trigger, for example, so just her role as a stunner does feel slightly more potent with her signature engine. But if you don't want to go for this one, we have a lot of other interesting engines coming up, and there are some good options. Hellfire Gears is a very, very viable option on Ju Fufu, and I personally managed to get scores that differentiate around 3 to 5% running Hellfire compared to Roaring Furnace. Now, Huey is on the field at all times, the dog, but Ju Fufu is off the field so she can benefit off the energy regen, and this honestly has a lot of things going for Ju Fufu. She can make extremely good use of the energy regen, allowing us to do more EX special attacks and allowing us to give Ju Fufu more momentum. And apart from her signature one, this is what I would be running on her. Another decent option is the Restrain. When an attack hits an enemy, damage and days from basic attacks increases by 6%. Now, Huey on his own is not able to fully stack this one up, but the defensive assist and whatnot from Ju Fufu, the Restraint is a good option. It falls slightly behind the Hellfire Gears, but it is still a viable option. Another good engine is Blazing Laurel, which is Lighter signature engine, and this one is decent if you're running a fire or an ice team together with Ju Fufu. Although I'm guessing if you have Lighter's engine, you probably also have Lighter, and Lighter wins out in those teams. Although if it is Deadly Assault and Lighter is already busy in another team, we can borrow his engine, and this is a decent one. As for Ice Jade Teapot, Xingyi's one, this one, the dog on his own is not able to fully stack this one because the stacks, kind of dissipate kind of quickly. We can send in Ju Fufu and have her do a flurry of attacks to stack this one up before a stun window. It isn't the worst idea in the world, but for the most part, the extra field time that we do put on Ju Fufu would have been better spent on our carry. So, if it were up to me, Hellfire Gears, unless you want to pull her signature one, otherwise I would be running the Restraint. And as for the A rank ones, I would first and foremost be running 6-shooter, if I have this one level up, or otherwise I would be going Steam Oven. As for Ju Fufu's teams, she is quite flexible. Her best in slot teammate is gonna be Yixuan, and that goes both ways. Yixuan's best teammate is Ju Fufu, and vice versa. And this is for the reasons we mentioned before. Yixuan has 2 ultimates, a lot of her damage is packed into her ultimate, so allowing her to do more ultimates and having those ultimates deal 40% more damage is very good. Also, Yixuan is a character that most of her damage is done during stun windows. She can do damage outside of them, but the stun windows are really where she shines. And right now in the game, there isn't too many stunners that Yixuan can pair up with. Other than Yixuan, Ju Fufu is kind of a general stunner, so she can mostly pair with all other attacker units or rupture agents, which is, only Yixuan. He pairs kind of good with Ellen. Ellen has a very hard-hitting ultimate and hard-hitting chain attacks. And if your team is looking like Ellen, Ju Fufu, and Astra, that's a very potent team, and being able to force 3 or 4 chain attacks from Ellen in a stun window is going to result in a lot of damage. She can work well in an Evelyn team. Evelyn relies heavily on her chain attacks to do most of her damage, and Ju Fufu, as we know, gives a big boost to that. Also, Evelyn does very well with Ju Fufu's extra crit damage. So there isn't really any attacker or rupture agent that Ju Fufu pairs badly with. In some cases, there are going to be better options for that carry. For example, Lighter is still going to win out of Ju Fufu in an Ellen team, and same with an Evelyn team, but not everybody has Lighter. And then Ju Fufu is a very potent, like, second best in slot. And like I touched upon earlier, one of the biggest, like, boons of having Ju Fufu is that you have always going to have your ultimate up when they need it, which is during a stun window. Usually the second stun window of any encounter, like, our attackers do not have their ultimates unless we specifically, like, you know, make sure that they do. Now, lastly, let's talk some Mindscapes. Her standout, like, really good one is M1. Upon entry combat, Ju Fufu's crit rate increases by 12% and she immediately gains 100 might. This one is nice because it gets the ball rolling faster. The crit rate, I'm assuming that's mostly to, like, help out with reaching the King of the Summit threshold of 50%. And us getting 100 might means that she will start the combat by doing a chain attack, which will immediately, like, give us more chain attack and ultimate damage right out of the gate. Now, most characters, they wouldn't have an ultimate to pop like before this triggers anyway. But if you're running M1 or like M2 Yishuan, you know, this one helps out. Also, when Ju Fufu's chain attack hits an enemy where the target is stunned, the target stun damage multiplier increases by 35%, lasting for 30 seconds. Now, the wording on this one is a little bit weird and it caught me off guard the first time. But what this means is, when the chain attack, whichever one of her two chain attack hits an enemy, within 30 seconds, if that enemy gets stunned, they will have like a 35% increase to the stun damage multiplier. At first, when I read this, I read it as we have to hit a stunned enemy with the chain attack and then this applies, which would have been forcing us to, like, always do the chain attack with hers. And with certain carries, we don't want to do that. But no, 35% extra stun damage multiplier during stun windows, and this is gonna have 100% uptime, because very rarely is there gonna be more than 30 seconds between, like, a chain attack from Ju Fufu. Her other decent one is the almighty Xingming Warrior. And this one does it so while in the Tiger's Roar state, which is the state she enters into after she's done, like, her off-field chain attack, all characters' crit damage increases by an additional 22%. Which means that base kit now, Ju Fufu can give out 50 crit damage if we cap out her buff. With this one, it's 72. With King of the Summit, it's an extra 30. So with this one equipped, with King of the Summit, we can give our entire team 102% crit damage, which is kinda insane. And also, whenever any character activates an ultimate, Ju Fufu gains 3 points of momentum. So, remember when I said that, you know, Ju Fufu is Yishuan's best slot teammate? Well, it goes both ways, once again. And honestly, this is a good one, this is a goated one. M1 is slightly more important. None of them are vital to play her, but in order of importance, M1 is the bigger boost. M2 is not bad. M4 is just about Ju Fufu's own damage. Ju Fufu gains 35% more crit damage whenever she's in the Tiger's Roar state, which is gonna be the entire combat, especially at M4. And for M6, Ju Fufu's chain attack damage increases by 30%, and whenever she consumes momentum, every time she bumps into an enemy, she will fire 3 popcorns, each dealing 160% of Fufu's attack as damage. And this damage is treated as chain attack damage. Now, this is a pattern we've seen a lot. Like a stunners or a support M6, it doesn't really help them support better, it just makes them do more damage. And if I had to pick between going Mindscapes and engines on Ju Fufu, if I had Hellfire Gears, I think I would stick with Hellfire Gears and go M1. Lacking Hellfire Gears, I would probably try and pick up her engine. And a good stopping point if you want a really dangerous Ju Fufu is M2. Alright everybody, that's all I can teach you about Ju Fufu. Super fun, potent little stunner that works excellently with Yishuan, but can also fit into basically any other team. So let me know down below what your thoughts on Ju Fufu, and if you have any additional questions, please let me know down in the comments. And most of my testing and most of the footage you've seen has been from the creator beta servers, which means that changes might apply, and if there's any need for corrections, I'll slap them down in the comments. And if you found this guide helpful, feel super free to help your boy out with a thumbs up and maybe subscribing to the channel. Everybody, as always, much love, have a big hug, and until next time, Hako out.
Lights bounce off her curves. She's got the body that swerves and serves. In the city, she's the queen. Titties like you've never seen. She's pixel perfect, tall and pure, simply dream. She's breaking through electric hearts, so skipping beats. She's got those seeds that can't be beat. Anime titties, lines so bright, bouncing through this neon night. Pixel skies and curves of pride. All I see are T's in the skies. You'll see, no survive this real tease that make your circuit.